Good morning, brothers and sisters, and welcome to May 28th, Prayers for the Day. We're starting with Whispers of His Power by Carmichael. And here we are. May 28th. The scripture is Romans 1:15. So as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you. There are at Rome also. Paul wrote this before he knew what it would cost him to go to Rome via Jerusalem. But he knew he was ready. It was different with the people who loved him. Take care of yourself, they said in effect. To that he had only one answer, Acts 21:13. What means ye to weep and to break my heart? For I am ready not to be bound only, but also to die at Jerusalem for the name of the Lord Jesus, Yeshua. As we go deeper into the fellowship of his sufferings, we need a deeper prayer for each other. We must be ready not only to suffer ourselves, but to allow those who love to have the privilege of suffering too. When I read that, suffer ourselves, it's that knowing thyself. It's that looking at that mirror and recognizing your positive traits and your negative traits and figuring out how to walk that middle path where integrity and compassion lie for yourself and therefore able to give to others. To you, there has been granted as an actual boon. Let me back up a little. As we go deeper into the fellowship of his sufferings, we need a deeper prayer for each other. We must be ready not only to suffer ourselves, but to allow those we love to have the privilege of suffering too. So give people leeway to find themselves. Let them stumble. Let them also, help them get up. As you would have the same be done for you. Let's see. We must be ready not only to suffer ourselves, but to allow those we love to have the privilege of suffering too. Mole understands Philippians 1:29 to mean, quote, to you, there has been granted as an actual boon for the sake of Christ, not only the believing on him, but also the suffering for his sake, a sacred privilege when it is involved by loyalty to such a master. Let us be ready to accept that privilege, not only for ourselves, but also, which is harder, for others. Purge from the earthly, give us love divine, Father, like this thine, like thine. So I'm going to back up and just reread that little bit about, to you there has been granted an actual boon for the sake of Christ, not only the believing on him, but also the suffering for his sake. Does the Christ want us to suffer for his sake? I would prefer to say that he wanted us to take the same walk that he did, that it was worth it for him to walk that walk, to be that example, so that we may walk it too and be free in that walk, to find true freedom by walking that walk. Then we have Jesus Calling, Enjoying the Peace of His Presence by Sarah Young from May 28th. Let me anoint you with my presence. I am King of Kings and Lord of Lords, dwelling in unapproachable light. When you draw near to me, I respond by coming closer to you. Ooh, interesting. So when he says dwelling in unapproachable light, when you draw near to me, I respond by coming closer to you. Well, we're in different realms, aren't we? Different realms? Well, yeah, the physical and the spiritual. So if we're willing to head towards that light, are we able to do so in these bodies, or is that light going to come closer to us as we approach it with our heart? You see what I mean? That's what I'm getting from this reading right there. As my presence envelops you, you may feel overwhelmed by the power and glory. This is a form of worship, sensing your smallness in comparison to my greatness. And I'm going to add to that because we are part and parcel of that greatness, it may seem but small, but for a minute when you approach it, because you don't recognize that you are part of that allness, that greatness, that incredible power. So you may feel small for but a second until you walk into it and recognize, oh, this is home. I am this, with this. Does that make sense? Let's see. Man has tended to make himself the measure of all things, but man's measure is too tiny to comprehend by majestic vastness. Ooh, I like that, majestic vastness. This is why most people do not see me at all, even though they live and move and have their being in me, because we're all part and parcel of God. Enjoy the radiant beauty of my presence. Declare my glorious being to the world. And that's 1 Timothy 6:15 through 16, James 4:8, Acts 17:28, and Psalms 145, 3 through 6. And we're going to finish with Daily Book of Positive Quotes by Linda Picone. And for today we have achievement and success. Quote. This is a quote from Helen Hayes. My mother drew a distinction between achievement and success. She said that achievement is the knowledge that you have studied and worked hard and done the best that is in you. Success is being praised by others. That is nice, but not as important or satisfying. Always aim for achievement and forget about success. We enjoy it when our work is recognized by others. Our boss tells us we've done a good job. Our friends are impressed by something we've just shown them. A teacher praises an essay we've written. This kind of recognition helps motivate us, as any good teacher, parent, or boss knows. But when we do our best, whether recognized by others or not, the feeling is better than any compliment or collection of gold stars. Well, that's true if you're your worst critic. I don't know why that comes to mind, but I think it's important. I think both are of value if they're balanced, because we're not islands. We need each other, and I think encouragement of each other is important. So I'm just going to throw that in. I celebrate my own work when I know I've achieved my best. And of course, it's important to recognize that. But if you don't have any encouragement from work, because inner work, that's one thing. If we're talking inner spiritual work, that's completely different. I completely agree with everything that I just read, because that is all about inner work. So you're the only one that can evaluate that. If you're doing work in the 3D on the outside, and it involves coworkers and teachers and fellow people like this example described, then I think that ultimately it's not sustainable to not have outside encouragement, because then if you're willing to work with others, then others have to be involved in the ultimate achievement of that success. Because if you're going to spend your entire time working with a team or a crew, or if you're taking the time to go to a teacher, their input is ultimately going to be sustained. In order to keep that work or that study sustainable, it's going to be required. So there's my 2 cents on that. Or is that 5? I don't know. All right, namaste, guys. Off to work. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.